a nuisance now? Is this a new nuisance, or is this a nuisance that has occurred since you have lived there? Yes.
It is.
You don't live there?
No, sir. I'm representing.
So since Mr. Quarterman has lived there, it's been ongoing?
Since he's on the property right next door, he does have tenants that are living there. It's expanded.
And it seems from looking at the history of use of the property, this has been going on since 1967, according to Mr. Quarterman, the owner of the subject property.
That's what he's at.
And was your father-in-law aware of that business when he acquired the property?
I'm not sure. There was no business going on, I guess, when he acquired the property at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here in opposition? Oh, your hand first. Sorry. Oh, you're not?
I'm Gail Hires. I live at 3480 Brown Road.
Where is that in reference to this property?
And I do of all those properties short of Brown Road. Okay. I'm going to just sit right here. This is ours. 40 years ago, the Hires acquired that property and still live there. And all of her children were raised and have now moved back and built homes there. We can see that property of Mr. Copeland's in question. And yes, he did have his home business there, and which is wonderful through the years. A lot of other people do have home businesses there in that area. And he did have a lot of trucks. He stored them there and then went out to service other areas, land removal and excuse me, I'm a little nervous. And anyway, but he did have trucks coming and going. Right now, we're talking semi-trucks repair. I'm under the understanding when Mr. Copeland was trying to sell properties, family was trying to sell property, sold all the property, was not able to sell that property or decided not to sell that property. And it did sit idle for a while. I know Mr. Copeland, Robert Copeland, did purchase that property, and that nothing was going on at the time. And we were all under the understanding that it was going to be sold. Why I'm here today is because we're not talking about a family business being continued. It's now turning into a commercial. And yes, this is not zoning. As far as the variance, yes, when those semi come into that road, okay, their lights are totally higher than the 6 foot that you're asking for, okay? There is noise. They sit there and they idle for hours. And yes, you know, we're just hearing a roar all the time, all the time. This is lovely that there are neighbors on the other side that have no issue with that. However, we do. And again, it is constant coming in and out. Those trucks do come down Brown Road and Loch Laurel and up Loch Laurel, so they're coming all through the neighborhoods. Okay, so if it's going to happen, and we can't do anything about it, and the zoning does approve it, as those trucks come into the property, again, it's the lights, it's the noise, so any kind of, we really were, you know, we hate to have to look at a 10-foot high privacy fence, okay? But 20 and 40 years ago, that was all agriculture. That's not now. Now it is a lot of developments in the area, home residential developments, and we're not talking, you know, $50,000 homes. So it's a lot of noise and it's a lot of lights, and they're not going to be working on these trucks and they say, okay, we'll stop at 6 o'clock. No, they're going to be working on them at 11, 12 o'clock at night. They're going to have huge lights. It's going to be going, right?
Well, that's an assumption.
feel that the buffer
That's what
requirement-
has been going on. They stopped him a few months ago
From working late.
because he's supposed to be, well, you've got to zone it for commercial, you've got to do all these things. And I was raised in the South, it's better to do things and then say, oh, I'm sorry, later, as opposed to starting out in the proper manner. So that's where we are now. That's where
And
things
we're
came
talking
from.
about a buffer variance here. So do you feel that the buffer should be held to the highest standard that's outlined in the land development regulations?
No, I would like to say that he not be granted a variance at all because of condition number 4. But,
But that would be the
Yes,
result
I
of
mean-
not being granted a variance. You'd have to comply
Right.
with the full buffer.
right, but it also says in the actions of the property owner, and I heard Mr. John Copeland say financially, he couldn't put it up for another 6 months or a year financially. Well, you know, the 4 addresses, it should not be in the action of, and that's his financial, that's his act, that's an action part of him. So I'm saying, I'm in opposition completely to not having a buffer right now. If it's gotta have one, I mean, if he's gonna be zone commercial, he needs to have the highest maximum as possible. Yeah, am I clear now? Sorry. Anything else?
Thank you. Is there any other opposition in the audience? Carmel, other than the stuff, the paperwork that you submitted to us, is there anything else at your office?
No, sir, that was it.
Okay, so we had a petition in our packet, and had 29 signatures on it in favor, and then we need to add this to the record today for the opposition. Come on, so,
I'm not sure what was the petition in favor of? Was it in favor of his rezoning or was it in favor of his reduced buffer variance?
It was primarily in favor of the rezoning rather than the buffer.
good point. Good point.
Because we're talking about a buffer variance here.
And so, Carmela, to make certain, your staff, your office has recommended that the variance be granted
Yes, there's 4 conditions,
based on,
the 4 conditions.
okay. Thank you.
But we're not sure if it's gonna be rezoned at this point.
Right, and number 4 is contingent upon the success of his rezoning next week.
What's the thought, Mr. Braswell, on not having on waiving the requirements on the south, north, southwest, and east of the property?
Because there's a natural vegetative buffer already in place. So the committee felt just, undisturbed. Leave it as it is. Don't cut it down, just leave it as it is.
Okay, and while I understand what we're here for, and I understand our role, the essence of the complaints, is the zoning of the commercial property. That's what I'm. Thank you.
Any other questions?
It would seem that although this use of Mr. Copeland's property has been going on for many years, the overall fabric of that part of the community has changed. That should be taken into consideration for any decision we make.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion, you ready?
But I also think we need to consider tabling this issue as well, because we got a contingency here, and that's almost like assuming. And then we have to turn around and do this whole thing again. If the property has been rezoned, even if has not been rezoned, then there's a license issue. So I think we need to let some of these other issues subside before we go on this variance. And then we table this until some of this stuff is cleared up.
Ms. Gaskins, you said you were ready to present a motion, but what
Well,
you just said.
I think that's I think I'm going to concur with what, I was about to say co-counsel. Yeah. Dr. House said.
Let's go.
I think any motion is premature. You know, and from what I'm hearing from the individuals who are objecting to variance, the issue is zoning. So is the applicant operating at a deficit if we wait and table this until such time as at least we have the information about whether or not zoning has been approved?
From my understanding, he's actively seeking a leasing for the property. If I stand to be corrected, there is no one that's leasing the property now, but he's advertising for someone to come and lease the property.
But the zoning meeting takes place, what, 4 weeks from now?
No, next Tuesday.
Okay. I think we ought to table this.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Oh, yeah, okay. It's a motion to table this matter until the next scheduled meeting.
Carmela, do you see any for call for vote? Okay, all right.
And I would, Mr. Chairman, that being July, we may move that to the
July 10th.
July 10th instead of the first Tuesday in July.
And that'll give you have to re-advertise it? No? Okay. All right, well, maybe, I have a motion and I have a second to table this until our next regularly scheduled meeting. So show of hands, all in favor? Okay. No opposition, unanimous. Not exactly the outcome, I think, that we were anticipating, but nonetheless, I think it's the right thing to do too. Thank you. Appreciate you. Sorry, it's been a little long. Okay with you? All right, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all will move out quickly, please. I mean, you're welcome to stay, but stay and be quiet.
Can I come back to the phone?
You can come back to the table where you want. Mr. Copeland.
Say what?
We've still got some business to attend to.
I'm trying to wake up.
You're welcome to stay.
We're gonna miss y'all next month.
All right, so our next order of business is approval of minutes. I'm embarrassed to say that I wasn't here, so
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye. And he proxies, Kirk proxy for approval,
And Ms. Gaskins?
and Ms. Gaskins had to leave early.
Okay. That's your personal. Okay. Looks like it's close enough here.
So we have approval of minutes. Do we have anything else from staff?
No, sir, not this month.
Okay, and our next meeting will be July 10th at 2:30.
Per your group schedule for 2012, not meeting during the 4th of July holiday week. It's the week off.
Okay,
So instead of Tuesday, July 3rd, we're meeting Tuesday, July 10th.
so noted. Okay, so we stand adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your service. Oh, the burn was on the road on that there. If I kept calling anybody else.
I know, she was like, she was ready to go. I told her she had to
See,
say
I didn't get that second one, the petition was till today, so I was kind of like, whoa.
I didn't get it. Where was it?
What?
Oh, I didn't even see it. I was supposed to sign it or not?
Well,
I don't
that's the
sign
first time I'm very excited.
No, we're going to sign it, but they know we're here. Hey.